Hello and welcome back to Coffee Kurosawa. I'm your friendly film fanatic, Ben Filipkowski.
And I am Farrah Sarpkaya, a person who loves film, but in a super chill, I love learning more about what makes people obsessed with the things they're obsessed with. And today, we're talking about you.
Yes, that is correct. We are diving deep into what made me the film fanatic I am today. Maybe not that deep.
Amazing.
I think a lot of it kind of boils down to some basic things.
Yeah. We have a time limit. We can't go that deep into it, but we're going to try. All right.
Yeah.
So speaking of trying and getting to know our hosts, tell us a little bit about yourself. Not just that you love movies.
Yeah. So I love movies. I don't know if that was clear. No, I'm a writer living on Canada's East Coast in Nova Scotia, but I got to grow up kind of all over the country. I've been coast to coast to coast in my life. So that means that I have lived in the Northwest Territories, up in Canada's Arctic. I've lived on the West Coast. I've lived a little more centrally. And the way that Farah and I know each other is that we were co-workers when we were both the same job in Ottawa. Life has taken me, to the East Coast. It's wonderful. I live here with my wonderful wife, Rachel, and our dog, Harrison Ford, who is indeed, of course, named Harrison Ford. We just call him Harry or Harrison most days. And I'm basically your run-of-the-mill nerd who grew up and is now a 30-something aspiring professional who's still basically a child at heart in many ways. I think that kind of sums me up in a nutshell. Yeah. I feel like I'm weirdly better at summing myself up right now because I've been in job hunt mode and had to describe myself to a lot of people. So that's a little odd. It is a skill that gets better with practice, which is unfortunate.
Like most skills, yeah. I would say.
Yes.
They get better with practice.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I think that's me in a nutshell. And every time I say in a nutshell, I am reminded of that gag from the first Austin Powers movie. It's like, that's you in a nutshell. It's like, no, this is me in a nutshell. Help, I'm trapped in a nutshell. Which is really corny, but I really love that joke.
Classic Canadiana. Love it. So you like movies. Mm-hmm. We know that. You have a whole podcast about it. That's a whole thing. But what are some of your earliest movie memories? How did we get started with Ben, the movie fanatic?
For sure. I think the first thing I remember seeing in theaters probably goes back to The Lion King. The animated Lion King, which is probably, I think that's 94. I distinctly remember seeing a movie with my mom and my grandmother, and I remember very loosely the layout of this big set of stairs in whatever cinema this was, wherever this was. This is probably in Ontario, probably in Ottawa if I really had to pick a location. And I remember a giant cardboard standee of The Lion King. So I assume I was watching The Lion King, but it's possible that I've incepted this memory for myself. I would have the very oldest I could have been is maybe 4 years old. I think that comes out right before my 4th birthday. So strong chance I was 3. It really depends on when I saw it. Anyways, that's a whole bunch of needless detail. That's my earliest movie memory for sure is seeing that in theaters. And then of course a bunch of VHS movies as a kid also take up a lot of space.
Oh man, yeah, it's funny that your memories go back that far, and I'm just sometime when I was in my early teens. So if you're thinking back to 4 years old, my goodness, what was on repeat? What VHS were you constantly rewinding at your house?
I remember watching a lot of The Rescuers Down Under. on VHS
Oh,
as a kid,
yes.
and I would have been living up in Canada's Arctic, where my dad was a teacher, and I remember watching a lot of movies and a lot of like kids TV shows on VHS as well. So yeah, a lot of The Rescuers Down Under, the original Disney Pinocchio. I think the Disney version of Peter Pan was there as well. Um,
Mhm.
I think I was like traumatized by The Little Mermaid at some point, or
Really?
maybe I'm now confusing some memory with a memory my wonderful wife has shared with me about her being traumatized by that movie. Yeah,
That
one of
happens when
those.
you've been together
Yeah,
long
one of
enough. You're
those.
just like, where did you start and I stop? I don't know.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I think I was about 5 or 6. I got Star Wars: A New Hope on VHS for my birthday, and it was all over after that. That is actually like a fun little story because we had family friends. They had lent us the movie, and I'd been like obsessed with it. And for my birthday, they were like, "Here, you gotta crack the code." And it was like this Indiana
Oh,
Jones and the Temple of Doom collectible card with like a like a substitution cipher, like a really basic like code breaker
yeah.
thing. And
Hmm.
they were like, "Oh, you got to find the clues." So I had to like go through their house and find these little clues, and then it was like the end result was the treasure that I found was Star Wars. So I still
Oh,
remember that to this
that's
day.
so cute.
Yeah, loved that. And then there are a ton of like TV shows that I watched the hell out of as a kid
Yeah.
in there as well.
Oh, of course. Yeah. But we're not here to talk about TV shows, Ben. We're here to talk about
Yeah,
movies.
yeah.
Um, and speaking of movies, last episode when we were talking about
Hmm.
me and it was awful. No, you asked me, when did movies turn into like a thing for me?
Yeah,
And I feel like the reason you asked me that was because there was a moment for you,
100%.
where that happened. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. This we were literally talking before we hit record. Also, last episode was 10 minutes ago for everyone at home. So,
Don't break their immersion.
so like, this
It
is
was
all
2
super
weeks
fresh
ago.
for both of us, which is why I think we're able to riff on it so easily. But um, yeah, like this is kind of like me explaining my entire personality, which is why I have so many notes about this.
It's aggressive,
Yeah,
y'all. It's an aggressive amount of
it's
notes.
aggressive because I need the guidelines to like I need like a script to follow so many times. Yeah, many of my interests and passions these days, in my mid 30s, can be traced back to what I can only describe as being like a teenage or childhood hyperfixation. Like that way that you get really, really into something when you're younger and you just consume everything about it. A lot of those have really stuck with me to this day. Um, and like I'm just using hyperfixation as like a yeah like a sub in for like an obsession, I guess.
Yeah. The lowercase
Yeah, lowercase
hyperfixation. Yeah, I
hyperfixation,
understand. I
not
understand.
necessarily like tied to anything other than my own my own obsessive tendencies. So this is kind of like a circular way of getting to the love of movies. I did really love movies a lot. I was like a creative kid, and my wonderful Aunt Mary, who I hope is listening to this. If you are, hello, Aunt Mary, love you very much. Will repeatedly tell me this story of like I have a lot of cousins, and we'd get together when I was younger, and like she would come in and check on us, and I would just be directing all my cousins in these like esoteric like stage plays and like fictional playtimes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that there's always been like a narrative obsession, but this kind of became uh, me being a total nerd and being a big comic book fan, or at least a fan of the characters. And so I remember flying across the country with my parents when I was probably about 14 or 15. Um, and so, like, we're leaving Vancouver heading to Ottawa. And my parents are telling me, like, it's a red eye flight. Get like go pick out like a magazine that'll interest you, because like I have a book, I have like I think I had an MP3 player at the time, but get like just for fun, just like get something to entertain yourself. So I went to like a magazine stand there and picked out a copy of Empire magazine, which is this UK based film and TV magazine. I picked
Mm-hmm.
it up because the cover story was like a 20-page feature on the making of Batman Begins. So like
Excellent.
very like, oh yeah, like I like Batman. I'm gonna read this thing. This movie looks interesting. Uh, so like in with all the other like film criticism that they have in this magazine, they also had like a special insert about like the top 20 or top 100 greatest directors of all time. Uh, so I devour this magazine from cover to cover again and again. I start reading the insert, even though the only names in it I really recognize are George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, because like those are the names you
Sure.
know. Like if you're obsessed with Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars, you know who George Lucas is, and you know if you have a passing familiarity with movies, you know who Steven Spielberg is. Um, but that insert had like long sections about both Akira Kurosawa and Sergio Leone, and I think that kind of planted a seed. So when we got back from this trip, I started rating the public library's DVDs and tapes based on titles by these great directors. So
Mm-hmm.
for Leone, that would be like his spaghetti westerns, which are like I think we think of them as like these iconic westerns, but they were all filmed in Spain and Italy, and then dubbed over with English voiceover. Kind of kickstarted the career of Clint Eastwood and others. So yeah, I started devouring all this stuff. I think like I rented Jaws, The Godfather 1, 2, and 3. Rented, borrowed Jaws, The Godfather 1, 2,
Uh-huh.
and 3 from the local library. My mom was a librarian there, so I had like I could always borrow like one extra thing now and then. So um,
Gasp.
yeah, so I watched a ton of stuff that way. I think I watched Taxi Driver, and I was like 15 or 16. It was probably not the
Mm-hmm.
best age to watch a ton of these things at, but like, um, yeah, yeah, I watched them anyways. And this is also back when things like Netflix would ship DVDs to you, like before it was a streaming service. Uh, and there
Oh,
were, yeah, there
classic.
were other competitors. We had Zip.ca, which was like the Canadian equivalent. And I had read so much about like Kurosawa's influence on Star Wars, so I was like, okay, well, I'll check out Seven Samurai. So I first
Mm-hmm.
watched that. I was like 16 or so. It blew my mind that it had an intermission. I remember. I was like, damn, this is a long movie. Okay. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
watched
Mm-hmm.
that. Really, I don't know if I enjoyed it at the time. I'm sure I like. I'm sure I enjoyed it enough, but I think
Mm-hmm.
like at the time there's also a lot of like these are important movies, so like
Yeah.
I have to like them. I have to
Mm-hmm. Of course.
pretend I
Yes.
understand what's going on.
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah,
No adults do that.
no adults
It's
do
just a
that.
teenager
Just
thing,
teens.
right?
Just
Yeah.
teens.
Yeah.
But I'm jumping back a little bit here, and I think like you talked in your episode about Lord of the Rings being like a formative movie experience. I think it was kind of similar for me. Like I was really
Yeah.
obsessed. I was about 10 when they announced 9 or 10 when they announced those. And I think that's also like my first like foray into like looking things up about movies or just fandom online. There's the onering.net. I remember would like
Oh my
regularly
God.
feature casting speculation and news, and being like 10 years old, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are, but I'm interested. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, by the time the third Lord of the Rings movie comes out is probably when like the obsession with film is really kicking off, because like I had a childhood friend and I were both really into the Leone westerns, and really enjoyed watching them.
Yeah.
And just watched a bunch of movies together, and we went and caught The Return of the King in theaters. And the ending for that movie was like so affecting for me that I kind of like I just went back to his
Oh.
place because I was sleeping over at his place for like a week during the summer. Uh, and I just went back into daze, and I think I woke up in the middle of the night to just like cry a little bit about it because I was like,
Oh.
And I think that was like the
Oh,
first moment of like really like clocking that like, oh, okay, yeah, you can feel some really intense feelings watching movies because I think they were just entertainment for so
yeah,
long for me. I think that's also like I loved the books, I loved the movies, and it was like this whole culmination.
yeah.
That is a really long way of saying like this was all this like crash course of like really like yeah, just basically like an obsessive tendency, like a completionist tendency to be like I have to go watch all like the big important movies now because I had
Mm-hmm.
this magazine that was like
That
these are the
list,
important
yeah.
things, you should go watch them. So I was like okay, cool. Um and in university, moving to a bigger city than anywhere I'd ever lived, also brought access to bigger libraries of stuff to check out. So I really just started watching as much as I could, whether it was just like mainstream entertainment, latest comedies and blockbusters, or
Yeah.
digging into older stuff. And I had a film studies class that I went absolutely nuts over, which also got me watching a ton of different stuff. So that was fun.
Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, it's so interesting to me how um how different and similar our experiences were around our introductions to
Yeah.
film, and it just like the ways those pathways tread in a direction and meander and meet and diverge and so
Yeah.
on. So I mean, I think you already touched a little bit on this, but
Yeah.
like, what is it about movies that really brings you joy? Like, what do they mean to you in kind of that broader, like, it was effective? Like, what?
Yeah.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah. I think, like, in maybe not stark contrast to what you were saying for your answer to this question earlier, but like you're looking at like stories and kind of like
Hmm.
the way that we get together and tell stories and share those experiences. And I think for me it is like above all else kind of um I think it's about like experience. I think it's about like the feeling that you are like caught up and swept away into like another world. Like you get basically pulled out of your own life and you
Hmm.
see the world around you, or a story through a different lens. And yeah, like by you get to drop in on these new and different ideas and experiences and feelings, and then the credits roll, you kind of just go back to normal life, which is like one of the really um I think lasting things I have about film. I think of like really fondly of all these moments of with friends, and now in particular with my wife Rachel. Like we'll get out of the movie at like 10 in the evening, maybe a little later sometimes, depending on when you're going to see it, and you're walking back to the car, and like it's like you're kind of like waking up in a way, like
Hmm.
you're like kickstarting your personality again to talk about the thing
Yeah.
that you've just experienced. And like the conversation you have in the car on the drive home or wherever you're going, like I love that. And um I remember in like the last few years in high school when like you have a license and you're suddenly able to, oh, you can have passengers now, and like driving out to I grew up in small towns, so I had to drive 45 minutes from where I went to high school, like a town over, to go to the nearest theater. And the theater was like, we have 3 screens, that's it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Which was huge for that. Man, they probably had like 2 screens actually. Now that I think about it, but it was like the ultimate in like small town. Like there's no kind of lobby. The lineup is like
Mm.
wrapping around the block, no matter what the movie is.
Man.
And so like we would have like you do that, and then we would go to the Dairy Queen and get blizzards, and then like you're eating your ice cream on the drive home and just like talking about what you just watched, or you're just like riffing on it and laughing about it, and because it was bad, so um
Yes.
and I think that kind of like there's like so much like fun in that. And I think
Yeah.
that kind of like brings me to this like thought of like I do really miss the feeling of going to movies before 2020. Like it is hard.
Yeah.
It's coming back a bit for me now. um it's really different now. There's a pretty modest multiplex nearby, which I don't think it gets the numbers that it did pre-pandemic. going to that is kind of like hit or miss because like not everyone's going out to the movies now. But I will say that like the vibe of going to this great little community theater, the Al Whittle Theater, which I volunteer at and live close by. This is a shameless plug for that theater if you're in the neighborhood. Um, the vibe going there to watch a movie or to watch anything is like immaculate because you are completely on the same wavelength with everyone. Like everyone there is like there because they want to see something, they want to be experiencing something. So that is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm really nostalgic for the Carlingwood Cineplex in Ottawa, and not just because of the amazing reclining seats they have. Those seats are so good.
I still haven't been, so maybe I should add that to my list now.
You had like
because I know.
Look, you've
Yeah.
been to the VIP one at
Yes.
Lansdowne, right?
I sure have. Yes. Yeah.
This is superior in every way. The seats are superior in every way.
Really?
They're so much roomier. They are so much more comfortable.
All right.
You gotta go.
I have to go. I gotta go. So if I were to go to that theater, and to look up at that screen, where would I find you? Did you ever want to work in movies? And if you did end up in a movie, what would you want to do?
Yeah, so in high school, I took some film studies stuff, and I got to make my own little short films, and that was fun. And I think I do absolutely want to work in movies. I've never worked in movies, but I think I want to write scripts above all else. Like I really love, like I am a writer. I love writing. Most of the writing I do is, corporate marketing, and that's, pays the bills. Nothing wrong with that at all. But it would be fun to create something and see it translated to the screen. That would be so exciting. I do not think that I have the talent or the force of personality to be a director. So that's another, I'll just rule myself out for that one. But genuinely, I really, really, really want to play a Wookiee in a Star Wars thing. I got the height for it. I'm a tall guy. That would just be so much fun. And just generally being the guy in the monster suit on movies, I think would be great. I think like the actor who played the Predator in that most recent Predator movie is kind of like a similar height to me. So I just need to get really fit and make the right connections. Just get jacked and then go to LA. That's the goal.
Listen, if any of the decision makers or casting directors of any of the Star Wars are listening, Ben is over 7 feet tall. You don't have to put him on stilts. You don't have to put him in lifts. He's just Wookiee size. You just put him in a fluffy suit and you're good.
Yeah.
We'll get you one day in a Star Wars.
One day.
In a Wookiee suit.
One
It'll
day.
be great.
Yeah.
So I think you've already kind of touched on a couple. But what are your favorite movies of all time?
For sure. We shout out to Letterboxd because I have my 4 favorites on there in no particular order: Ocean's 11, Empire Strikes Back, High and Low, and Sanjuro. I'm gonna make Colin audible and cut Sanjuro. Not that like I still love it, but like as I think about it right now, it's like Hot Fuzz is also really good. Like Hot Fuzz might be one of my favorite movies. We do have episodes on 3 of these 4, so I won't.
We sure do.
I won't talk about them too much. But I have a ton of other stuff I really enjoy, and I was going through like lists of movies I've seen, and I was like, I like these, but like, are these favorites? Some of them definitely are, and I don't know. Went down a bit of a rabbit hole with all of this. Like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is an early favorite. Sergio Leone spaghetti western. Young Frankenstein. I love that movie. My dad and I still quote it to each other regularly. Could be worse. How could it possibly be any worse? Could be raining. And then it starts raining. Please go see that movie if you haven't seen it.
Classic.
What else? Blue Velvet is great David Lynch movie. Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me is a wonderfully weird sequel to the TV show. A Fish Called Wanda, one of my favorite comedies.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
The Silence of the Lambs is a favorite. There's some elements that are probably a little problematic in this day and age, but still an incredible movie. I've already mentioned Hot Fuzz. The Birdcage with Gene Hackman, Nathan Lane, and Robin Williams is so funny. If you get a chance to watch it, go watch it. Police Story 2 is a great Jackie Chan movie. Lost in Translation is just a really good movie. That's a good movie. Uh, Redundant for me to say these are good movies. If I'm listing them as favorites, I feel like that's like maybe obviously that's my opinion. Out of Sight is like a dress rehearsal for the Ocean's 11 movies. It's George Clooney, Don Cheadle, Jennifer Lopez is in it. Ving Rhames is in it. It's really it is actually a very good movie.
Yeah.
The Kill Bill movies, those are great. Loved The Dark Knight. King of Comedy. I know that we mentioned that we were kind of I think we mentioned that we're begging off doing a Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, Joker triple feature. That will happen. King of Comedy is so good, and I'll talk about it more in the future. Terminator 2, Eastern Promises, Schindler's List, The Iron Giant, The Princess Bride, North by Northwest. It's a huge list, so I'll stop there. I'll stop there. That's good enough for now.
Yeah, it was funny because like when we were doing mine, I was like, I can't pick a favorite because vibes, and you can't pick a favorite because they're all good.
I just love so many.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so good. Speaking of picking favorites, I had to stop reading my list of favorite actors and directors because I had too many. But hey, Ben, who are your favorite actors and directors?
Number one with a bullet, Anthony Hopkins. I will watch anything that guy does. And Anthony Hopkins is one of those actors who, like, no matter, he shows up for the paycheck, but it's not like he never phones it in. Like, he's a guy who will take almost any movie, I believe. But he always brings his A game. He's always fantastic. Love him to pieces. Meryl Streep, I know it's such a like. She already has all the accolades, and everyone already loves her. I think that is all very well deserved. She's very talented. Emma Stone continues to surprise. Michelle Yeoh is another fantastic actress. Viola Davis. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is like, considering the first thing I saw him in was that movie, the Baywatch movie with The Rock and Zac Efron. It's like, boy, this guy became like one of the most interesting actors out there. Zendaya, so good in Challengers. Sigourney Weaver, Genevieve O'Reilly, Diego Luna, Denzel Washington. I think one of my this is one that bothers me because I'm still blown away that the guy from Twilight, Robert Pattinson, has become one of my favorite actors. He's just picks such wonderfully weird roles and plays these little freaky guys so well. And yes, Batman is included as one of those freaky guys. He's just like, I don't know. He's one of those actors who's like, this guy's a movie star for good reason.
I mean, I feel like both he and Kristen Stewart after Twilight took a little break and then went, I have all my Twilight money. I can just do whatever I want. Let's do some weird stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, I love that for you. Keep it going.
Yeah. Pedro Pascal should also be in this.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Oscar Isaac
so
should
many.
be. Yeah, I could.
The list goes on.
I could spend this entire episode naming names. So I'll stop.
Well, you're not going to stop because now you're going to talk to us about directors.
Yes. Obviously, given the name of this podcast, Akira Kurosawa. Like, no two ways about it. Spielberg, Matt Reeves, Steven Soderbergh might actually be my favorite working director. I think everything he does is like pushes himself to do something new and different. So he had like a horror movie come out with Lucy Liu a month ago, that got a lot of really good reviews. He's never really done anything like that. Like he's the Ocean's 11 guy. But he also just had a spy thriller come out, which I want to watch, called Black Bag. That looks really good. Bong Joon-ho is the guy behind Parasite. Just did Mickey 17, Okja, so many others. Jackie Chan is actually a really talented director. You go watch Police Story and Police Story 2. Like, I don't think anyone has as much of a mastery over filming choreography as he does. The way that he like connects cuts to action is really, really interesting and really cool to see. Sofia Coppola has done a bunch of movies that I wound up really enjoying, which really surprised me. I have enjoyed every Greta Gerwig movie I've seen. Chloe Zhao is really talented. Catherine Bigelow deserves so much more recognition for her work. Like I think that she gets. No, I think like she kind of gets overlooked, but she did Zero Dark 30, which, regardless of how you feel about that movie's approach to politics and history, is a really
Mhm.
tremendously well made movie. Um, she did this amazing movie called Strange Days in like 2000, I think, with Ray Fiennes and a really stacked cast that is like, um, I would say, like rivals The Matrix and its like
Hmm.
treatment of like technology. Really, really
Yeah.
cool movie. Really, really, really cool movie that everyone should go watch if they get a chance. Uh, I'll stop. I'll stop. There's so many names.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fun to see the I'm going to say diversity, but what I mean to say is like there are so many incredible storytellers, big and small. Like, even there's big names obviously like Spielberg, and
Mm.
then they said like Catherine Bigelow. Like, I wouldn't know who that is because I don't look at directors necessarily, but like the different perspectives that we see as we start to dive into who's actually doing the things that we like
Yeah.
and how they represent the world and all these things. So, all that to say, when you're looking for a movie, whether you're looking at
Yeah.
the director, whether you're looking at the cast, like what makes you pick one over the other? We know I'm all about
Yeah.
vibes. So, what about you?
I think like in a word, escapism. But not in like a forget about like ignore problems sort of way, but like I am genuinely looking to be transported out of my world for a few hours. I think the best
Hmm.
movies out there capture your attention so completely you're just hooked for the runtime. Um,
Yeah.
you know, my wife and I will like laugh about it now, but like we went to see the Batman in 2022 when it came out. And this is like there was like another COVID wave at that point in time, but we were kind of a little clueless about that. So like we had masks on, but we thought like okay, but like we're going to the Cineplex. They'll have their concessions. It's okay that we haven't had any food, and it's like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night.
Hmm.
We haven't eaten dinner. Um, they'll have food, so we get there. Concessions closed by like just out of like concern, an overabundance of concern for health. Totally, totally reasonable. We're like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, well, we'll just go to McDonald's after. Cool. And like for the near 3 hour runtime of that movie, like completely forgot how hungry we were. Second we step
Oh
outside, like
no.
we are starving. We are so hungry right now. Like, so we were just like,
Yeah.
so like I cite that as like just like being locked in and hooked on the thing you're watching so much that you like forget about. It's like that moment of like you're
Yeah.
watching something and like you forget that like oh maybe I should go to the bathroom now. Like not in like
Yes.
an
Yeah.
urgent emergency kind of way, but like your body suddenly like I can hold it. I'm
Yeah.
good. I don't
Yeah,
want to
I
miss a
don't
thing.
I don't
Yeah.
need to notice any of those like other
Yeah.
triggers in my body. I'm
Yeah.
just this is where I am
Yeah.
today right
And
now.
then like the second credits roll, you're like, okay, gotta go. That's
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the weirdly the feeling I'm kind of after, and I think that kind of
Hmm.
is maybe a little highfalutin, a
Yeah.
little lofty way to look at it, but I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's just like I just want to be delighted by what I'm watching, and whether it is like
Yeah.
a good performance or a powerful message or just visual spectacle. I just want to,
Hmm.
yeah, I want that feeling of like, wow, that was
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah. So, what movies surprised you that gave you that feeling?
Uh, I'm gonna focus more on recent stuff because it's the stuff I remember the most vividly. I
Yeah.
watched Wicked like 2 days ago,
Yeah.
and Rachel had seen that when it was in theaters and was like, I think you'll really enjoy the cinematography. I was like, I don't know, I don't know if I'm like a musical guy. I was really into that movie. That was a really well made movie. I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it, and you can really tell
Mm-hmm.
that there was a lot of effort and care put into like almost every aspect of it. So that was really,
Yeah.
really impressively done. A Real Pain was surprising. I thought it would be kind of like a very like, oh, this is just like a quirky little comedy. And it is a quirky comedy, but it's also a lot darker and funnier than I thought it would be. Like
Yeah.
there's some laugh out loud moments in that really got me. Um, Conclave, which is just a movie where a bunch of priests have stressful conversations with each other, and it's very good. It was really engaging. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I had this listed as something that didn't connect with me, but then I finished watching it. Anora, which just won Best Picture and like Best Actor.
Yeah.
Like, you won everything at the Oscars. Um, I was watching it, and I think I watched it in like 2 sittings, and I made it like an hour through the first time, and I was like, I don't like this. This is bad. Like this should not have won. And then I watched the second hour the other night, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, yeah, this is all
Yeah.
good, but you have to have that hour of like,
Mm-hmm.
this might be kind of bad for this second
Yeah.
half to work. So that was pretty surprising.
Yeah.
I wish that it was all as good as that second half, but whatever. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Also, I really liked Complete Unknown, which is the Bob Dylan movie with
Mm.
Timothy Chalamet. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I am I hate biopics. They're so they're usually very bad because they're trying to do like a life story in 2 hours, and you just can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And versus
Yep.
this was like, we're just going to focus on a couple years and one specific conflict and incident, and it works really well as a result. So I really enjoyed that. The performances were great. Good movie.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, you kind of touched a bit on Honora already, but what are some others that you thought you would be like, wow, this is great, but you went, eh,
What Dreams May
it
Come.
fell flat.
Yeah, What Dreams May
Yeah.
Come. But we talk like we
Yeah.
have an entire episode about how that did not click with me, so I won't go.
Yeah.
Not and again, not that it's bad. It just
Yeah.
didn't click with me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think we touched on this in your episode, Nosferatu.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was really expecting a lot more from that.
Yeah.
And again, it is very well made. Like there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
competence in how it is put together. The
Yeah.
performances are strong. Um, the writing is perfectly adequate. It's just that it's not really well, like it's just not telling anything new about
Yeah.
this like well trod ground, which was kind of I think the appeal of it for me was like, okay, this
Mm-hmm.
guy who is so focused on mining historical record for other points of interest and finding those like unturned stones in this sort of story, that is interesting. We'll see a different side of this, and it's still just Dracula. Like it's still
Yeah.
just I've seen the original movie, and I've read the book it's based off of, so
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really do anything wildly new. It has a lot in common with the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula. I think like, they
Mm-hmm.
share a lot of DNA. So I don't know, just didn't
Yeah.
land with me the way I thought it would. It looks again like visually incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfectly entertaining movie to watch, but yeah, just didn't quite
Yeah.
hit the way I thought it would or hoped it would.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've talked a lot in other episodes about retelling of stories
Mm-hmm.
and how you can do it well to bring more out. And it makes sense
Yeah.
that, like,
Well,
if this one didn't give you new things
yeah.
to think about or talk about or whatever, that it wouldn't necessarily be like, oh,
Yeah.
fabulous, groundbreaking for you.
Well, there's even like a specific moment where they have Jonathan Harker, but he's not. Is he Harker? Hutter. I think he's
Mm.
Herr Hutter in this movie. Nicholas Holt's character, who's like
Yes.
our one of our protagonists, is in a Romanian village, and they're all giving him all these warnings about like, don't go to the vampire castle, but he does not speak their language.
Uh-huh.
And there's like a moment where it feels like the movie's going to take this left turn into like we're going to look at all this vampire folklore through the lens of these people. I was like, that is okay, that's really cool, that's interesting. And then it just abruptly abandons that, and that was really like, oh, okay, so we're not going to do the cool thing here. All right, well, here we go.
Yep.
So yeah, that was we could probably have a whole episode on all things Dracula at some point. That would actually be kind of interesting.
Yeah. We'll put a pin in that for
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah.
So good movie or bad?
Mm-hmm.
What is the best way to watch a movie, in your opinion?
In a comfy seat in a movie theater. I think that is the best way. I was talking about this earlier in this very episode. I really miss like that theater experience. I miss sitting in a comfy chair. I miss having like your snacks. You're there with like friends and like you're all like, oh, I can't wait to watch this. And like the lights go down and everyone's like, oh, let's do this. We're gonna let our attention's grabbed. Like we're in. This is gonna be so fun. And like I like watching the trailers that they have. You get big bombastic trailers sometimes. That's really cool. Yeah, catching something fun on a Friday night is an unbeatable feeling. Again, shout out to the Carlingwood Cineplex in Ottawa. It's so comfortable. Those seats are so good. If you're in the area, go there. And small independent cinemas are also amazing experiences. Again, the Al Whittle Theater near me is a great experience. I also got to go to the Mayfair Theater in Ottawa a couple of times. They have couches that you can, if you get there early enough, you can get a couch. Those are great.
Nice.
And they'll show like a different sort of variety than what you'd get at, one of the major theater chains. Yeah. If you can't watch in theaters, just have a really big TV at home. Get the glare off the TV. Wait till like it's a little darker out. Turn off the lights. Have some ambient lighting. Recreate the theater experience at home. Lights low, big screen, volume up, comfy seating, and ideally off of physical media because it's just like there's nothing wrong with streaming. It is it's great quality. Like you can stream at high quality, like that. There's no doubt about that. But like the consistency and experience of like I'm popping in a disc, like a 4K Blu-ray disc. You're loading that up, and just the picture quality on the huge TVs. Oh, so good. So good.
Classic.
Love it. And put your phone away. No matter where you're watching it, put your phone away. Like if you're watching at home, put your phone like out of arm's reach because you will enjoy it so much more that way.
You see so much more that way, particularly.
I'm saying this as someone who looks up trivia about the movie I'm watching as I'm watching it, so I am the problem.
I'm sure we're all shocked to hear that. So if whether you're at home or at the theater, what's the go-to snacks for you?
Without a doubt, Twizzlers nibs. They're cherry flavored. They are softer than Twizzlers. They're not hollow. And I just shovel them by the handful into my mouth when I'm watching movies. I also learned they are both kosher and vegan friendly, which is pretty cool. I also really love the Maynard's Fuzzy Peach candy, which can never go wrong with. Again, these snacks don't last beyond the trailers for me, which is a major problem. Not. But like I'll have like and then I'll have like a Coke with that, and but because they're just so sugary, I try and go for like a Coke Zero these days. So
for anyone looking at our icon, our podcast title card, the coffee mug with the popcorn and the little red bits, that's Twizzler Nubs. That's the lore behind the podcast episode cover that I drew us over a year ago now, maybe. I don't know, but it's a long time. So we got our snacks.
Yeah.
We got our comfy couches. What movie, regardless of the best snacks, the best movie theater, will you never watch again?
When I really think about it, I don't know if I have a movie that I will steadfastly refuse to watch again on any sort of principle. Because like, if there's something that I know is gonna bother me that much, Like I just won't
Yeah.
watch it in the first place. Like there are movies that I know like I'm not going to enjoy that. I'm just not going to watch it. So it's not like
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think maybe Independence Day Resurgence, which is the sequel that they did. Um,
Mm-hmm.
or like the Rebel Moon movies that came out on Netflix recently were like, I don't know. I think I just like, I just don't like either of those. I did see Independence Day Resurgence in theaters with my roommate at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just sitting there like under our breaths going, "Oh my god, this is so bad. This is so bad. This is so bad." It's just like there's always like some redeeming quality to even like the worst movie, but like I just don't want to go back to watch those. I genuinely struggle to go watch these ones just because it's so bad it's good. It's just like it's so bad it's bad. So
Yeah,
that's where I am on those ones.
that's fair. So, we're getting close to the end now.
Yeah.
And so I must ask you the most important question. What is the name, or were the names plural? Because we will get into this, of your local video rental shops.
Yeah. This was a tricky one because I moved around a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
there were some moments where I spent like a few chunks of time in one spot. The earliest rental place I can remember was called Hollywood Video. This is a little tricky because I went on Google Maps to find these places, and obviously, like they've been closed for years because there are no rental places anymore. But I remember where they are, and it turns out that there were two places. I remembered then that there are two places in this town where I grew up that
Mm-hmm.
I think were both called Hollywood Video, or like it moved from one location into the old location. I don't remember the original name of the second rental shop there, but it became a
Mm-hmm.
movie. That one became a movie gallery. And I say it's Hollywood Video. It had no affiliation with like the chain known as Hollywood Video
Yeah.
in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like when I was really young, and one place was across town, and one place was a little closer to home. One place is now this is all in British Columbia. One place is now a liquor warehouse is the name of the business. Uh, where you can just it's just a private liquor store. You can just buy
Sure.
the
Yeah.
alcohol you want from there. And then when I was about 18, my parents moved to another place in BC, and this was it was interesting because there was like a mom and pop store called Gone Hollywood Video. People really like leaned on this Hollywood
Yeah.
Video thing. And then this was
Who needs
also
copyright?
yeah, this was also directly across the street from a place called a chain called Movie Gallery, which was all over the place when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I have since learned it was like a North American chain, not just in Canada, but I'm convinced that it was just like this exclusively Canadian thing. Um, Gone Hollywood Video was really cool. It carried a crazy range, like, and not just like a crazy range of stuff for a small town, like buck wild the things I could find in there. Really blew my mind. Really had a lot of fun
Mm-hmm.
going there. When Movie Gallery went bankrupt, like the parent company went bankrupt and they were liquidating
Yeah.
all their stores, I was like working a summer job and had it was a very lucrative summer job. So I had like 4 days off at a time, 4 days on, and all this disposable income. And then Movie Gallery went bankrupt, and I was like, "Cool." And I walked
Uh-huh.
out with armfuls of Blu-rays and video games that they were trying to get rid of because what else are they going to do with them?
Yep.
So yeah, this is all like a really rambling answer. But yeah, I went down a huge rabbit hole of like exploring old neighborhoods from my childhood, which was very fun,
Mm-hmm.
but also very like
Yeah.
bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
Revisiting places I once lived and seeing how they've changed. But also, in some cases, changed for the better. And
Yeah.
oh, I've changed too.
What a place to end
Yeah,
on, dude. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, I'll shameless plug for both of
yeah,
us. Libraries still exist and
yeah,
they still have movies. So go check out your local library. 'Cause you talked about that at the top. Like that's where you got a lot of those original films that you were getting into.
Yeah, and to this day, I mean, a lot of your public libraries, many will have access to Canopy, spelled with a K, which is like this kind of streaming rental service. I say rental, you're just getting things out on loan, and it'll automatically get returned to your library. But it's a great way to watch a ton of diverse stuff from around the world. So if you're interested in art house cinema, if you're interested in foreign film, they'll have that. They'll have I think the library where I went to university, the public library there, had like seasons of Game of Thrones when it was coming out. So
nice.
Like libraries are a fantastic resource to check this stuff out. And if there is a local cinema near you, please go to it. Like support it. Put your business there. Support local. Yeah. These are great resources that everyone should be taking advantage of.
100%. It's very funny to me because I thought when we were planning these 2 episodes, and we're recording them back to back. We were like, I thought we'd have to cut yours for time a little bit because I was like, you have so many more opinions on movies than I do, and so many more thoughts on movies than I do, and then yours is 10 minutes shorter than mine.
All right, hot take. Biopics are bad. Don't watch biopics. They're terrible.
Why? Why are they bad? Why are they bad, Ben?
The only good biopics.
You gotta fill 10 minutes.
Yeah, the only good biopics are the biopics that take a snapshot, like an important part in like someone's life. Like Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash movie, is the exception that kind of proves the rule because they filter it all through the lens of like this man struggling with his issues with addiction. So everything that we see about Johnny Cash's life is filtered through that lens, which adds additional meaning to us as a viewer. Like there's a theme, there's a through line. Bohemian Rhapsody is a bad biopic. It is just a mess from editing. It purports to be about like the story of like Queen, but maybe also just the story of Freddie Mercury. But who knows? Not that the performances are good in that, to be clear, but the movie itself has like nothing to say beyond like, wow, weren't these guys cool? I don't think it has a whole lot to offer about. There's no real insight I'm gleaning. And for something called Bohemian Rhapsody, it's almost like maybe it should have been about the making of that song, or maybe they should have done it about like the Live Aid show, like this iconic performance. So I think like when you focus it around one thing, you can use it as an interesting lens into like a person's life. Like, and again, pointing to A Complete Unknown is about Bob Dylan, his very, at the time, controversial decision to play electric guitar, like a full band setup versus his, acoustic guitar and a voice and a harmonica. I don't know. As a result, you get these things that are super focused, and most biopics are just like, Chapter 1, they were born. Chapter close, they died or came to peace with their problems, which is like, this isn't really all that interesting. Although the Elton John musical biopic Rocket Man is quite good because it just acknowledges that like we really do want to see the music. So yeah, that's my rant.
I mean, again, because we got a shameless plug, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Our episode on that talks about how you can do a biopic right. Of focusing on one thing, and in that case, it's like the morals of the man rather than the man himself and stuff like that. So I'm glad we got to give you a little bit of airtime to rant about your favorite biopic topics so that if we have more of them in the future, we can just refer back here. Like, why doesn't Ben like them?
Just drag and drop. Yeah, copy paste.
Just copy that snippet in every single future episode. So, okay. That's us. That's us. That's the episode. Wow, we did it. Good job, team. The This is me pivoting professionally as my cat tries to break into my VO booth. So this podcast, it's about movies. We talk about the movies we love. We talk about the things that we watch and all that thing. And it's called Coffee and Kurosawa. And you can find us on Patreon. You can find us also on Blue Sky as Coffee Kurosawa Pod. You can find me, Farrah Sarpkaya, on Blue Sky, Substack, and Letterboxd as Farrakaya, and at sarpkaya.ca, where I lend my voice as a voice actor. Ben, where can the people find you?
The good people can find me on Blue Sky as at the Benjimon, and on Letterboxd as at Benjimon. I don't know that I'm super active on either of these platforms, but I enjoy having them and engaging in the communities I find around me. It's always fun.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, at us on these things, and tell us what you're watching. Tell us what you like and what you don't like, and who knows, maybe we'll watch your favorites next. So thank you, Ben, for talking all things your favorite movies. And thank you all for listening. And who can say what we're going to do next? Because we were both having a lot of, do we want to watch Taxi Driver, Joker, and King of Comedy right now? It's a lot.
It's heavy.
A lot with
it's
the
heavy.
world. But
yeah.
We'll figure it out. We're doing this podcast for fun, so we can do what we want. But if you want to know what's coming up next, like I said, follow us on Patreon and join us next time for Coffee and Kurosawa. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.